Derek's hands gripped the steering wheel with a familiar tension as he navigated the bustling streets of Chicago. The city pulsed around him, a living tapestry woven from honking horns, laughter spilling onto the sidewalks, and the chime of neon signs flickering to life. He was a taxi driver, but for Derek, that title carried more weight than simply steering a cab through traffic. It was a life choice made in the aftermath of loss, one that tethered him to both the grind of survival and the hope of better days. At 40, the lines etched on his brow told the story of sleepless nights, of empty wallets, and of dreams deferred. He parked his yellow cab beneath a flickering streetlight, scanning the sidewalk for his next fare. It was a routine that had become predictable, almost mechanical, as he carried the weight of unpaid bills and a growing desperation to provide for his 10-year-old son, Eli. Each hour felt like a stumbling walk through fog, his heart heavier with every dollar Healy made, longing for the stability he had once taken for granted. Derek wasn't just struggling financially, he was grappling with a gnawing sense of inadequacy. The crushing cloud of stress threatened to envelop the joy he found in small moments with Eli, like the ones where they would share breakfast, racing each other to their favorite pancakes at that little diner down the street. But today could be different. As Derek watched people hurriedly pass by, he reminded himself of the values his late wife, Melissa, had instilled in him: kindness, compassion, and a belief in the good of others, even when ending the day with a mere handful of change. A jubilant group of college students flagged him down. They were laughing, waving their phones, clearly excited about the night ahead. With a practiced smile, he slid the door open, and they tumbled in, the scent of bright perfume mingling in the confined space. He navigated the streets deftly, but something gnawed at him. He could hear bits of their conversation filled with dreams and nightlife, and it struck him like a distant memory. His own youthful hopes fizzled under the weight of obligations. Just as they reached their destination, the phone on his dashboard chirped with a notification. Derek's heart sank. Just the night before, he had promised to fix the leaky kitchen faucet that had irked him for weeks, and now he would need to dip into his meager savings to pay for the necessary repairs. The students jumped out, leaving him behind in the dim light of the street, and he set off again, determined to recoup his losses with the next fare. Moments later, he found himself stopped at a red light when he noticed a woman on the side of the road, hunched over with her arm draped across her belly, her eyes clearly dialed inward with pain. Panic flickered through him, but he quickly realized her distress was not from an injury. Her breathing was rapid and sharp. This was no ordinary situation, it was the universal law of a woman in labor. In an instant, Derek turned on the hazard lights, ignoring the honking horns that followed. He could hardly think of anything but the urgency of the moment. "Are you okay, ma'am?" he called out, though he had a sinking feeling about the answer. She looked up, beads of sweat forming at her brow. "No. I'm in labor. I need to get to the hospital and I can't." Without thinking twice, Derek jumped out of the cab, reality colliding with his impulse to help. "Get in. Let me take you." Her relief was palpable as she quickly climbed into the back seat, breathing heavily. "I thought I would be okay, but I waited too long." Derek's heart raced, not just with the urgency of her situation, but with empathy. He understood the feeling of helplessness that crept through his veins in moments of desperation. "Hold tight. I'll get you there." As he pulled away from the curb, weaving through traffic, he cursed under his breath over the reckless nature of his decision. He knew it was a gamble, one that could cost him dearly in fare earnings. He was gambling with his dwindling savings, which felt like an entire life coiled within the gas tank of his cab. "Just breathe," he encouraged her, glancing back at the woman whose face had shifted from fear to fierce determination. "Focus on your breathing. We're almost there." As he merged into the flow of fuller traffic, her fingers gripped the seat, and they locked eyes in the rearview mirror, two strangers connected by circumstance in a fleeting moment. He felt a flicker of a spark, a connection that belied the strangers they had been just moments ago. How often had he shared a ride with people who never looked beneath the surface? "I'm so scared," she gasped, a torn whisper escaping like a butterfly freed from its cocoon. "Fear is part of it, but I know you can do this," he replied, his voice steady. "You're going to be okay." In that moment, as they shared the journey, he felt that unlike the weight of his own struggles, he was witnessing a miracle about to unfold, a life being born. Each red light that held them up felt like a personal affront to his promise. "Come on," he muttered under his breath, but they edged closer, the emergency lights flashing through the grime of the windshield, making the world outside flicker and fade. All his worries, the pile of bills, the pressure to make rent, and the haunting thought that he might not have enough to provide for Eli, evaporated into the ether as Derek absorbed the gravity of that moment. Watching the woman's face contort in pain, he was reminded of Melissa, of her own labor filled with strife and courage. That contrast anchored him. This was what life was about: connection, kindness, and the willingness to help even when faced with your own struggles. Finally pulling into the hospital parking lot, the woman let out a gasp, a sound swelling with both agony and awe. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he said, springing from his seat and rushing to open her door. "Let's get you inside." As they dashed toward the burning lights where hopes and healthcare collided, the fear mixed with love radiated in the air. The odds felt heavy, the story yet unwritten, but as the sliding glass doors parted and the chaos of the emergency room enveloped them, Derek knew one thing without a doubt: this ride was just the beginning. The moment they stepped through would lead not only to a new life, but to something he had been silently yearning for, an opportunity to change his own narrative, forever impacted by this single, unforeseen act of kindness. Derek's heart raced as he urged the woman forward through the emergency room, guided by the urgent beeps and rustling sounds that filled the air. The sterile white walls seemed to pulse with a rhythm all their own, echoing the intensity of every heartbeat in the room. Once they reached the triage desk, he quickly relayed the situation to a nurse. "Please, she's in labor," Derek said, urgency in his voice bubbling forth. The nurse nodded, taking immediate action, while Derek stepped back, allowing the medical professionals to take over. As the nurse led the woman away, Derek felt a mix of relief and anxiety bubble within him. A wave of gratitude washed over him. He had risked what little he had to help a stranger, and now he only hoped it would yield good results. Speaking softly, the woman turned to him just before she was whisked into the delivery room. "Thank you, sir, thank you for everything. You saved me," she said, a glimmer of hope shining through the layers of her earlier fear. With a warm smile, Derek replied, "You did the hard part. Just focus on bringing that little one into the world." For the first time all day, Derek felt the weight of his own burdens lift, if only for a moment. In that instant, he grasped the powerful ripple effect of kindness. That one choice to help someone had already lightened his heart despite his ever-growing stackofuls waiting at home. He stepped outside to collect himself, taking a moment to breathe the cool night air. The world seemed so much larger now. With every passing vehicle, he could feel lives intersecting, stories unfurling, and moments of goodwill growing. He pulled out his phone to check the time. It was late, and Eli would be worried. With newfound determination, he climbed back into his cab. "All right, let's find the next fare," he muttered, grappling with that same well-worn tension in his hands. But this time, a spark glimmered through the haze, urging him to at least savor the day's successes, however small and fleeting. As he rolled along, he recalled Melissa's laughter and the way it used to wrap around him like a warm blanket. "This is for you, honey," he whispered to the empty cab. "I'm trying to make it right." The screech of tires jolted him from his thoughts as he approached a busy corner. A seasoned couple waved him down, their hands gesturing as they climbed into the back seat. He took a quick glance through the rearview mirror, admiring the deep lines etched into their faces, the marks of a life shared. "Where to?" he asked, failing to hide his curiosity about the couple, who seemed to have lived through countless moments that shaped them. "Downtown, dear. We're off to celebrate our wedding anniversary," the woman beamed, her eyes sparkling like the diamond on her finger. "Congratulations. How long have you been married?" 54 wonderful years, she exclaimed, turning to her husband. "And we still love to dance, maybe even more than when we first began." Derek chuckled, feeling a warmth blossom in his center. Their stories of love acted like a balm against the loneliness that sometimes swirled through his own heart. He couldn't help but reply, "That's beautiful. Dancing is a great way to keep the spark alive." As they exchanged stories about their lives, Derek felt his spirits lift. Each laugh shared strengthened the invisible bond of connection that resided within the walls of his cab. You know, the husband mused, it's remarkable how much kindness can change a person's day. We were once in a tough financial spot ourselves before our daughter stepped in. Intrigued, Derek probed further. What happened? We lost our jobs, like many others during that recession, but a stranger from the community helped us find new jobs. We made it through, and we've never forgotten it, the woman shared, her voice soft and determined. We try to give back whenever we can, whether it's donating our time, money, or simply being there for those in need. In that moment, Derek felt a swell of recognition for the cycle of generosity. Their words wove seamlessly into his experience earlier that evening, breathing life into challenges he couldn't help but face alone. As he dropped them off at a quaint little bistro adorned with flowers, the couple turned to him, beaming. Thank you for the lovely conversation and the ride, young man. Tea brightened our evening. The husband reached into his wallet, retrieving cash. Derek shook his head. I refuse to take any money for a ride, especially not after all you've shared. It's been a pleasure. But please, the woman insisted, her gaze steady. We insist. It's important to help those who help others. She pressed a crisp envelope into his hand. Keep the kindness flowing, dear. Your kindness won't go unnoticed, Derek said, touched by their gesture and tossing etiquette aside at last. He reluctantly agreed to take it, thanking them again before they disappeared into the restaurant. Once alone, he opened the envelope, his breath catching in his throat. Inside were 2 crisp $100 bills alongside a check made out for a whopping $1,500, along with a note. In case you need it, it read, for a new start, or to help someone else. Derek's heart soared, resonating with hope. The money would help him catch up on bills and finally take care of the house heirs he couldn't bear to allow Eli to live with any longer. More than that, he knew it would also give him the chance to help someone else, the essence of the ripple effect. As he made his way back to the hospital to check on the woman, he decided it was time to take control. He had to harness the generosity around him. This financial windfall felt like the beginning of something transformative, a wind in his sails propelling him forward. Arriving at the hospital, he stepped inside and quickly located the waiting area. A few anxious friends and family members were huddled together, their eyes darting toward the delivery room door. Derek approached them, holding the envelope close to his chest, trying to conceal the hope bubbling within him. Excuse me, is anyone here for a woman named Laura? She came in earlier, just before her baby was born. A woman on the edge of her seat looked up, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. Yes. That's my sister. How do you know her? I was the one who drove her here, he replied, his voice steady. I wanted to check in. Thank you so much for helping her, it means the world to us, she said, her words pouring forth like an unending stream of gratitude. You're welcome. Nothing brings people closer than kindness, Derek replied, feeling humbled. Just then, the doors swung open, and a nurse waltzed out with a huge smile. Congratulations! Laura just had a beautiful baby boy. Cheers erupted as the family hugged one another, and a swell of emotion lifted Derek's heart. He could feel the joy radiating from them, a perfect moment etched within the bond of compassion. After the excitement settled, Laura stepped out of her own room, looking tired yet vibrant in the glow of new motherhood. Her eyes lit up when she spotted Derek. You. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for getting me here. Congratulations, Laura. Your son is lucky to have you, he said, warmth swelling inside him. Almost instinctively, he pulled the envelope from his pocket. I want you to have this. It's a gift, may it help you both as you start this new journey. She looked at him, bewildered. Are you sure? Absolutely. You need it far more than I do right now, Derek insisted. After everything, he understood that kindness could generate more kindness. Her eyes filled with deep gratitude, and she began to speak, but all that could escape was, thank you. As Derek made his way back to his cab, he felt lighter, like the weight of his own struggles had been eased, if only for tonight. Sure, there were still bills to pay and uncertainties ahead, but for the first time, he understood he could choose to continue this cycle of kindness, ensuring the ripples expand beyond his own life. The night was still young, and determined not to retreat into the shadow of despair again, he steered through the city streets with purpose. It wasn't just about making a living, it was about creating connections, finding joy in the moments when life ended unexpectedly, and discovering the genuine courage to give back, no matter how small. As he rolled through the sparkling city lights, inhaling the tantalizing scent of opportunity, hope blossomed within him, a beacon in the distance shining brighter than any trade of currency could build. With renewed strength, he vowed to dance through life with open arms, ready to embrace whatever flickers of kindness awaited him next. The city that once felt daunting now seemed alive with potential as Derek drove through the streets. Every tiny flicker of light reminded him of the connections he had made, the kindness he had witnessed, and how it all woven into the fabric of the lives surrounding him. With the check from Laura's sister in his pocket, he felt a newfound sense of hope, a thread that connected him to something greater than himself. As the days rolled into weeks, Derek's routine remained busy yet transformed. Each new fair held a heartwarming story, an elderly woman sharing tales for grandchildren, a couple recounting their journey through adversity, and students brimming with dreams for the future. In every exchange, Derek saw reflections of his own struggles and victories, an unspoken bond that connected them all like a tapestry of human experience. With the financial relief from the generous donations he had received, Derek was able to not only catch up on his bills but also repair the leaky faucet that had plagued him for years. Every correction felt like a small victory. The sound of running water, finally free from the constant drip that echoed through the house, filled him with a sense of accomplishment. One Saturday evening, as Derek finished his shift, he found himself sitting at the diner, where he and Eli often shared pancakes on their rare free mornings. A sudden pang of inspiration struck him as he noticed the familiar faces around him, each one filled with dreams and challenges. With mended finances, he could afford to do more than scrape by, he could pass on the kindness he had received to others. "I think it's time to give back," he muttered to himself as he sipped on his cup of coffee. He recalled the elderly couple who had changed his perspective during his late-night drive. Their words about kindness creating waves of connection resonated deeply within him, and the thought sparked a new determination to be proactive in his community. The following week, Derek gathered his thoughts and reached out to a local charity organization focused on helping families in need. They were hosting an event, and he offered to donate his time and his cab for the cause. He would provide rides for families struggling to get to the various service points, helping them access food, clothing, and additional resources. "You're doing what?" Eli asked, looking up from his homework as Derek explained the plan. "I'm helping out some families that need a push. It's a chance for me to pay it forward, buddy. Remember that woman we met at the hospital?" Derek said, a smile brightening his expression. "This is about showing kindness, just like she and her sister showed me. Can I help?" Eli's eyes sparkled with eagerness. "I want to help too." The two of them spent the next few days preparing for the big event. They made posters, loaded up the cab with bags of donated clothes, and gathered blankets and non-perishable items. Each task was laced with laughter and anticipation, and Derek felt a warmth grow in his heart as Eli embraced the spirit of giving. When the day arrived, Derek parked his cab outside the community center, where the charity event was to take place. Families streamed in, some with children clinging tightly to their parents while others cautiously assessed the atmosphere. Derek met families with warmth and compassion, listening to their stories, finding opportunities to offer encouragement, and ensuring that everyone felt welcome and supported. Eli, full of energy, rushed about with his father, lending a hand wherever he could. As they greeted families and loaded bags of essentials into the waiting cars, Derek felt a joy blossoming within him, mingling with gratitude. Here, he was not just giving rides, he was being part of a larger community story, threading together shared experiences, hopes, and dreams. As the day unfolded, he witnessed hearts being lifted. Children shared smiles, laughter, and gratitude, all mingling with fresh hopes for brighter futures. Those who rode in Derek's cab opened up about their challenges, while he reminded them that their paths, and their worth, were never defined by money alone. "You never know the ripple effect a simple act of kindness can create," he told a mother who seemed overwhelmed by difficulties. "I'm living proof that it leads to so much more." By the end of the day, Derek found himself feeling lighter than he had in years. The joy of giving back had stirred something deep within him, awakening a passion that had lain dormant for took. As families departed with their newfound belongings and the lingering hope etched into their faces, Derek and Eli stood back and watched. "Can we do this again?" Eli asked, beaming with excitement. "I want to help more people." "Absolutely, kiddo." Derek tousled his son's hair, grinning. "This is just the beginning." A few weeks later, the community had embraced Derek and Eli's efforts, and they continued organizing donation drives and community rides. Word spread, and they became known for their warmth and commitment. Local businesses began to join in, offering discounts and sponsoring food for the events. Derek's cab turned from a simple vehicle for transportation into a catalyst for connection, a symbol of hope and determination. Through their consistent acts of kindness, Derek realized how little it took to inspire change. Smiling faces not only impacted those they served but affected them in return. The cycle of giving fostered friendships, strengthened community bonds, allowed him to find solace amidst the strain of previous years. One evening, after a particularly successful event, Derek found himself sitting on the porch with Eli, watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant oranges and purples. The busy hum of the city faded behind them, leaving only the resonating sounds of everyday life, the laughter of children playing, the chatter of neighbors, and their shared memories. "You know, Dad," Eli started, his youthful innocence shining through, "I think kindness is like a magic trick. The more you give, the more you get back." Derek chuckled, pleasantly surprised. "You might just be onto something there, Eli. Kindness is magic. It's not just about what we give but what we bring into the world." As they sat together, Derek couldn't remember the last time he had felt such clarity. His heart swelled at the thought of where he had started, the lonely days he spent eking out an existence, burdened by his own challenges, to the life he was crafting beside his son. The world around him felt alive and vibrant, igniting his spirit. In that moment, Derek grasped one glorious truth: it wasn't merely about bouncing back from hardship but rising together in the face of it. As a father, he was modeling hope and resilience to Eli, and cementing the understanding that their lives were forever intertwined with humanity. As the sky darkened and stars began to twinkle, Derek knew their journey was far from over. They'd encountered struggles, but with every act of kindness, they continuously transformed their own lives and those around them. This open-ended journey of giving would only widen the pathways of connection, amplifying the magic of kindness in ways unimaginable. With his heart full and his spirit renewed, he nestled deeper into his chair, glancing sideways at Eli. "What do you say we keep this magic alive?"
"Yeah,"
Eli exclaimed, his excitement palpable. "I can't wait to see how much we can change." And as they watched constellations bloom in the night sky, Derek understood that the good they could do was limitless, fueled by the pure essence of kindness that blossomed both within them and in every heart they touched.